everybody, it's Dr. Lori. This is Ask Dr. Lori Live, and we are still working out, the kinks with respect to our Ask Dr. Lori Live streaming, so we don't blow up the internet, which we've done, which shows how popular it is, which is good. But I'm taking your questions tonight. But one thing before we get to questions, sign up for the newsletter. The newsletter has a lot of information in it. It's free, right at drloriv.com. Just subscribe to the newsletter. Very easy. Give us your email address, and then we'll send the newsletter out to you. It goes out regularly, and all of you have been saying, hey, it's really a big help. So I want you all to subscribe when you can. Tonight's a big night for me. My mom would be 100 today, so that's a big day for me. An important person in my life was born on this day. So anyway, put your questions right in. I want you to type your questions right into those comments, and we'll see how many I can get through, fielding all your questions about all different things. Whatever you want me to talk about, I'll be happy to talk about. So I'll answer your questions, art, antique, personal, and otherwise, whatever you want me to whatever questions you want me to field. Again, I'm Dr. Lori, the PhD Antiques Appraiser. I'm happy that you're all with me. I'm looking about all kinds of great things. I can tell you about this fabulous tiara. Princess Diana wore a tiara that this is modeled after the tiara that was worn at the 1981 wedding of course, Princess Diana and Prince Charles. This tiara was, of course, a replica, actually a replica from the Franklin Mint. I was doing a TV program, and they supplied me with some pieces and said, you can choose one piece that you would want to hold on to, So that was nice of them. The other pieces were returned. This particular tiara, and the one, of course, that this one's modeled after, is in the Royal Collection of the Royal Jewel Collection. And if you ever had a chance to look at the Royal Crown Jewels, sometimes you'll be able to see those. Super chats and super stickers are available, and I appreciate folks who support in any way, whether it's watching, super chat, super sticker, sharing, however you do it. I'm thankful that you're, of course, looking into and excited to be here live with me. I'm excited to be with you too. Any ideas for questions of the night? Sure, I'm happy for those. How about realism paintings or impressionism? Well, let me tell you this. Impressionism is actually optical realism. And when I used to teach at the university level, I used to explain it like this. If you see something that's impressionistic, a Monet painting, a Renoir painting, they're basically dealing with the issues of how the optic nerve actually works. There's a whole lot about science in Impressionist painting, and the optic nerve works a certain way, and it's based on color blending, something called complementary color pairs. I talk about it in other videos too, but basically when you think about realism, people say, well, there's realism, and then everything changes in art history of the late 19th century to, of course, Impressionism, which is not realistic at all. In fact, it's optical realism. It's what your eye is doing. That's why when you walk up to a painting that's an Impressionist painting, your eye will blend everything together. When you move back, everything will be blended together. When you're close up to it, it just looks like all little dots. So optical realism, AKA Impressionism. Thanks for the question. Yeah. Did Heisey make jewelry? I have seen some pieces that have a similar mark, Heisey mark, on it for jewelry. A lot of people are surprised by that some of the great glass manufacturers will actually make jewelry pendants oftentimes that then can be put into settings, usually sterling silver, but I have seen those. So if you're looking at marks and you're thinking that looks like a particular mark, and you have a piece that looks like a good piece of glass, yeah, you probably have a piece of Heisey jewelry. Yep, that's possible. That's possible. Swarovski, of course, the great Austrian manufacturer of small crystal figurines, also makes jewelry. Of course, you've probably seen it, crystal inlaid bracelets and pins and such. You probably have seen some of those here that I talk about on Ask Dr. Lori Live too. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So good to see all of you. And thank you. I'm glad that you like the videos. I'm glad that you're reading the research articles on the website. There's a lot of information in that. I can clarify the characteristics between bone china and porcelain. Porcelain is fired at a high temperature. Bone china adds bone ash to the mixture of the clay. So basically bone ash, kaolin, feldspar for bone china. Porcelain does not have bone ash in it typically. Bone china is just as popular. Porcelain is fired at a higher temperature than bone china. I hope that answers that question. It's a little bit about sort of the science of what happens in the kiln when they're firing china. China is very, very hot. Those of you who are thinking about, of course, collecting pieces, china. Crystal is definitely worth collecting. I'm seeing a lot more folks. Tara made a comment earlier before the show started, and she said, all the good information from the videos here on this channel, she's been able to double her sales. And she's not the only one. She's somebody who just happened to write it here in the comments tonight, but I've heard this a lot. And knowing what's worth collecting is important, which is why I'm giving you a lot of these, the thrift store shopping list videos and videos where you go, this is what you need to look for and this is what you need to leave there. Don't waste your money on certain stuff. You want to, of course, get the stuff that is in fact going to be of interest. Crystal has been doing very, very well. And whether you mean a crystal vase or whether, like a Waterford vase that's here on the studio table tonight, or if you're talking about crystal with respect to jewelry, yeah, both pieces are actually doing quite well. Classic pieces always do well. So you want to think about that. Classic pieces always do well in the retail market. It's recognizable. Brand names always do well. So if you're thinking about Waterford or Tiffany or, whatever it might, Kleenex, I don't care what brand name it is, but if it's a brand name, there's that. So I have a watch that's Universal Geneve, that's 14 karat Italian gold, 27 grams with 24 small diamonds around the bezel, right? And it's cased in a 17 jewel movement. I'm wondering if it's a marriage and value. I'd have to see the piece. It does sound like it might be a marriage, but for 17 jewels is pretty typical for a what we might call a cocktail watch or a watch that is more of a bracelet decorative piece rather than a piece that's for, specific timekeeping. I'd have to see a picture of it. And you could, of course, submit a photo at my website. I tell you guys that all the time. I will review those. I would say that it's possible it's a marriage when two dissimilar things come together and they stick it out no matter what, a marriage. But basically that kind of piece, if you've got 27 tested diamonds and you've got Italian 14 karat gold and it's marked as such, you probably have a pretty pricey watch, even if there are additions to it that weren't the original. So don't just give up on it just because it might have something from another origin. Make sense? I hope that makes sense. So yeah, really nice, really nice. A lot of things that you're thinking of, but I want you to look out for these pieces that might be put together like a marriage. For rosary beads, besides its metal content, what else makes them valuable? I'll send a picture of the Italian rosary beads. Chris, how's it going, Chris? A couple of things. First of all, rosary beads, very, very popular. Lots of people collect them. Oftentimes you'll see, of course, rosary beads have a specific characteristics. They could be sterling silver and crystal. I won't tell you about the time. Maybe I've already told you about the time when the nuns yelled at me in Italian at the Vatican. I'm at the Vatican. I want to get rosary beads for my mother, and they're yelling at me because I don't understand Italian good enough. And to look at me, you think, oh, she knows Italian, And I wanted to know if they were sterling silver, blah, blah, blah. I got yelled at by the nuns. I was always yelled at the nuns. It's Catholic upbringing. But anyway, having said that, you want to make sure that you have a complete set of rosary beads. A lot of people don't realize that there have to be a complete set. So you've got to have, 10 Hail Marys and the Our Father, the bigger bead, 10 small beads, a bigger bead, 10 small beads, a bigger bead, 10 small beads, a bigger bead. You have to also have a glory bead of the Father, which of course is that usually it's a medallion. It's usually in a metal, sort of at the center where sort of the necklace would have a pendant. And then you go down a couple more beads and you're going to have, of course, the crucifix. So it has to be complete because a lot of them are short. Sometimes they only have 10, sometimes they only have 20 and they're small and they say, oh, it's for the wrist. You have to make sure you have the full necklace, not really necklace, but the full rosary bead. The other thing about rosary beads is they can be actual carved roses. They can be of all different materials. And they're very, very desirable. A lot of people collect them. Some people wear them. Some people just house them. Some people display them. I've seen them in all different orientations, but they're very desirable. And yeah, a photo of it would be great. Yes, look for the metals. And usually I've seen them in gold plated. I see them in sterling silver. I've seen them with, beautiful crystals. I've seen them with gold beads, all different types. My father during World War II carried wooden ones around his neck, never took them off his neck. So he's got a Thompson machine gun and, of course, the rosary beads around his neck in the Pacific Theater. So, you know, they helped him get home, I guess. Anyway, so, but yeah, if you have them, they can be valuable. Why are some triphalli selling so cheap? Because they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. That's why. So snap them up. Snap them up. Make sure they're authentic, but snap them up. So basically, a lot of times you're going to see that. You're going to see a lot of people are just saying, I'm just getting rid of it. It's just going, you know, and that happens more often than not. But if you see triphalli, recognize those marks, and I show you the marks. You know, gold jewelry marks, costume jewelry marks, right on my website, research tab, drloriv.com, hit the research tab, and it's going to say jewelry. Click on jewelry, and you're going to get all of these, of course, things. You can see it. It's an eye information research right there near my face underneath the contact button in upper right on my website. Can't miss it. Just go there, look at jewelry, lots of information there. I mean, I built a big website for you too. So, and of course, there's a lot of information on the videos here. So you can watch a video if you don't feel like reading the website. That's fine. Yeah. Good question. Juan Gonzalez, who did Rider's Vision info, please. All right. You got to give me more than that. I need a visual, okay? Because first of all, I don't know what information you want, what questions you want me to answer. I thank you for the good things that you're doing for pets. I appreciate that. I think we should all care about animals and each other. But I need more information about, you know, what specific type of thing, because here's the thing. So, you know, say we're talking about a painting, for example. So you're talking about a painting. Is it characteristic of the artist? Is it from his mature period, you know, when he was a mature artist, adult, right? Is it a piece that deviates from what we typically see? Is it a piece that's well executed? Is it a piece that's a dog? It's not well executed. It's not great, you know, this kind of thing. So I want you to be aware of that. I want you to be aware of all these things. So when you say, I just need any information is not going to help you. We got to specify. So show me an image. That will help. That will help. And thank you again for supporting us with your super chats and super stickers. Wondering if a Charles Leslie painting would be worth getting appraised by you. Dr. Google says yes, but you're the expert. Okay, I don't know what Dr. Google is. I guess you mean you put it into Google and Charles Leslie paintings can be valuable. I would say that if you're curious about this piece and you don't know, sure, have me appraise it. Why? Because you could do it very, very low cost. So I do it very low cost. So I'll be happy to take a look at it. Now, a couple of things. You have to make sure that you have the right piece, right? And you have to make sure that the piece is, of course, by this artist or not in the manner of. And even pieces that are in the manner of that artist, right? Similar to his style, similar to his subject matter, right? Even those pieces will have value. They may not have as much value as, of course, the piece that we know is authentic to that particular artist. But don't just poo-poo pieces that look like somebody else but may not be by that artist. But I'll take a look. Sure, I'll take a look. And signatures are not the only thing. Yeah. Oh, Dan, I'm very happy to do that. And I'm so glad, Dan, you know, of course, I'm glad to have you with me always. And thank you for that. And it's great to see folks from the classes are here. I'm doing, of course, my class. You guys know about my class. A lot of you have been asking all kinds of questions, and you can sign up for a class, and I hope you'll do that too. And that's a fun way to show me objects and talk about art, antiques, and collectibles and learn something new. One of the questions I had was about bugs recently. So I had this question, and she said, you know, I've got these antiques. I bought them at an antique mall. I like them, but it's wood, and it looks like it has little holes. And I'm starting to see little bits of sawdust kind of coming out of these holes. I have this piece on my hearth, and I'm seeing sort of sawdust around the piece. I'm wondering what's going on. Well, you have active bugs. And you can get rid of active bugs. It's not that easy, but it can be done. When I was at the Yale Art Gallery a million years ago as a museum staff member, I remember very clearly the curators and I, you know, moving pieces that had just been donated that had active bugs. How did we get rid of them? We put them in a freezer. That's right. We wrapped them in tissue paper and placed them into a freezer for about 2 weeks, and we froze them out. Right? We're going to freeze them out, those bugs. So you can get rid of bugs that way. That's one of the ways to do it. You wrap it usually in a tissue paper. Maybe you put it into a shoebox or something like that. And then for that time period, you can actually freeze them out. You can get rid of bugs in that way. I've seen that happen and not have any problem with the actual wood piece. So you're not damaging the piece at all. So that was, there's a tip for you. That was one of the questions that came in. Should wood backboards on antique frames be removed and replaced with acid-free backing? Well, early pieces from the early 1900s, 1890s to about 1905, I regularly see them all the time, and they have a wooden backboard on them, particularly prints like Currier and Ives prints. They have a wooden backboard on them. You can even see the knots in the wood coming through the paper, coming through the prints and such. They should be removed. Acid-free materials are always what's suggested. We didn't have acid-free materials until about the early 80s, 1980s. So prior to that, most pieces were framed or matted or backboarded in acid materials. Wood was very common in the early 1900s. And then you had acidic cardboard, and then you had some other types of boards. But basically, you want to get rid of it. And then they go, oh my gosh, we're getting rid of a part of the frame. You're not getting rid of a part of the frame. That backboard's going to do nothing other than damage the piece, in my opinion. And that's many, many years of experience talking. I would say acid-free foam core or acid-free mat board would be what you replace your wooden backboard with. The frame will be fine. You could use the same frame. You don't have to ditch the whole frame. If the frame's in good condition, you can keep the frame, but the backboard that is wooden should go. That'll protect your object. All right, let's see. Oil on canvas, Grimes is the artist, 1984, Native American on horseback. Any idea of value? I have a lot of ideas of value. First of all, I have to see if it's a good painting. That's the first thing. So here's the first thing. You know who the artist is. It probably just says Grimes, so maybe you don't have a first name. So we have to do a little bit more digging on that. A Native American on horseback, 1984. So you're starting to see sort of the end of this, what we sometimes call the revival of the natives pieces that we see. 16 by 20 is a standard size. So that tells me that this person is either working in an art workshop or this person is in fact skilled, trained, and is in some way recognizes that using standard sized canvases will help to promote and of course get his paintings sold. Oil on canvas, of course, it could be oil on board, oil on canvas. It could be acrylic as well. In 1984, based on that time frame, I'd have to take a look at it as well. But I would say that that piece probably warrants an appraisal for its time period, for its subject matter, and also for the fact that you've got a nice standard size, that 16 by 20. I like you to learn those standard sizes, the 20 by 24, the 28 by 32, 25 by 30, that kind of thing. So that's what we want. Sandra, I'm glad you love the class. I love to do it. We spend a couple hours together. We learn a lot. We learn from each other. We have some fun. It's great. Are the figurines created by Charlotte Budge for Goebel, the Redhead series, at all valuable and collectible? Well, a couple of things. You probably recognize them. You're probably all very familiar with the Sister Maria Goebel figurines. They're the very traditional ones that we've seen, early 20th century to yesterday. All right. But these that basically are little red-headed figures from the 1960s are also quite collectible. There were also pieces that were made that were dolls that were made in their likeness. I do remember one of my older sisters had the dolls, and they were little red-headed dolls. And you all probably remember me saying my mother was a redhead, so we all had red-headed dolls. But those particular pieces are coming in vogue now because it isn't the traditional Goebel or Hummel figurines that everybody has. It's a little bit different, and it's made by a very good firm. The Goebel firm of Germany, of course, is a very well-respected ceramic firm. Those pieces are hand-painted, and they're hand-glazed, and they are molded, right? They're molded by, of course, manufacturing process, but they're hand-painted, so those are nice. And designed, of course, by this particular designer. So good question. Yeah, if you have them, I would hang on to them. They're going to probably far exceed the traditional ones. Yeah. So thank you very much, Barnaby. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the support of all of you. Anything you can do is a big help. So I appreciate that too. As I said, super chats and super stickers help to support us. And of course, you can also support us by, purchasing one of our recommended products. I get a small compensation when you do that, and I appreciate that too. Watch the videos and learn the information so you can make money. Watch the videos, learn the information so you can build yourself a beautiful collection. Watch the videos for fun. I had a video call, and she valued items within 30 minutes. She was personable and fun. I highly agree. Oh, well, thank you, Jennifer. You're very nice. I appreciate that. I had fun. I'm going to break this thing. So I'm going to move this because I keep doing my Italian hand thing. So I'm going to move this piece over here so I don't break it. We're going to put this over here. There we go. Hands, you know. I'm glad that you enjoyed the video calls. I always say, if you're organized, I'm fast. So if you get your stuff out for a video call, 30 minutes, you can get a lot of stuff done. And many of you have said that, actually. Does uranium glass and costume jewelry date the piece and increase value? There's a smart question. That's a good question. Uranium glass is very popular. People like oh, it fluoresces. Oh, look at it under black light. People like that. Yes, it can date costume jewelry. It can help date costume jewelry. I want you to learn all the specific things that can help date costume jewelry. Not only looking for marks, but also looking at what type of materials, what type of faux stones, what type of glass, what type of stuff is of interest. You know, I was talking about glass in a video that you should watch on the binge link, because it's not only on this channel, that I did for a TV segment for the CBS network. And I was talking about, of course, the hydrofluoric vapors that were actually put into glass to make particular type of glass. So those kinds of things as well. I'm sorry, I didn't get to the second half of that question. But yes, it can be that uranium glass. And yes, it can increase value because it does something different than other types of glass. If it's not uranium glass, it can have a little, if it is uranium glass or Vaseline glass, it can have a little bit more value than just a typical piece of glass. But remember, most people are not walking around with their black lights going, oh, look at my ring. It glows, so you've got to be aware of that. But yes, I would say, if I had to say there are two pieces on a table and one is uranium glass and one is not, and they're exactly the same in every other factor, sure, the uranium glass can have a little bit more value. Yep. People like it. So someone loves my hair. It's very, very big today. Very big. So thank you for loving my big hair. But a lot of fun here. Let's see those questions. I'm happy to answer them. I'm trying to get through as many as I can. So thanks for doing this. Thanks for, of course, your questions. I'm happy to field them. And I want to help you with respect to these ideas of what's happening. A lot of changes out there in the thrifting world too. A lot of you are saying, oh, Dr. Lori, I'm seeing that prices are going up and people are really want a lot more money for their pieces. You have to remember their side of the business too, and you have to be smart about your side of the business. I'm going to help you to, of course, indicate what you can do to, of course, bring more of that money home to your house and spend less. I have a mint julep cup. Oh, those are always good. Marked H. Hudson, Louisville. Is it possible it's coined silver? It tarnishes, but it's not marked 925 or 800. It's possible it's coin. Oftentimes coin has a mark too. It says coin a lot of the times. It's possible it's something other than, of course, a marked fineness marked silver. What do I mean by that? Well, it could be alpaca. It could be something that looks silver but isn't. But yes, it could be coined silver. It's unusual that, of course, it would be coined silver from that particular identifier. But I would think that mint julep cups could be something other than that. The fact that it doesn't have a 925 is unusual. We'd see these that they might say 800 on it. It's also possible that sometimes, if it's been a very long time, sometimes these marks do get rubbed off over time, but it has to be an old piece, a really old piece. So I'll take a look at it for you. Yep. Good question. So found 4 large framed needlepoint pieces at the thrift shop for $1 each. Okay. There are versions of famous painting. I wonder what the best platform to sell them on. Okay, here's a couple of things. First of all, I hope you grab them for $1 each because the frames are going to be valuable right out of the chute if they're in a frame. The fact that they are, of course, framed needlepoint, a lot of people did those, particularly in the 60s and 70s and 80s, very popular. And this stuff is coming back over and over again. Embroidery is too. Best platforms to sell them. Now, I'm going to tell you a couple of different things. First of all, you have to go to the places where the most eyes are on these pieces. What does that mean? Where you have the most audience, the greatest opportunity for people who want to spend the money on those pieces. I would say that if I had to pick 3, I would probably say eBay, Etsy, and maybe the third one for those types of pieces. If it's in good condition, I would probably say more of a design focused or home design focused place. maybe Cherish, maybe Ruby Lane. That's where I'd be. I'd also see some success on Shop Thrilling and Tradesies for these types of pieces. So there's boom, 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 best platforms. Now here's the problem with saying it's the best platform, because you'll notice I gave you 3 or 4 or 5. Now, one best is not ever the answer. There's always good places. So I want you to be aware that you need to see where the market is for your specific ones. For example, if your needlepoint pictures are of Rococo scenes of, little ladies in the 18th century France dancing outside, right? Lovers sort of at a picnic, they may sell not as well on a Cherish than they will on a Ruby Lane. Okay, so I'm giving you sort of an umbrella answer, but I like to focus down, because if I saw those pieces and maybe one of them is a picture of an 18th century, Sir Joshua Reynolds painting of a little boy, right? Maybe that's a little different. That I would not ever say, oh, that's good for Cherish. I would probably say that's good for eBay or Etsy. See, so it depends on what the pieces are specifically, so then you can drill down, like we do in the money pit on Oak Island, so we can drill down, right? I want you to be able to be specific for them, because you have 4 of them. All 4 of them may not sell best on the same platform. So I want you to be specific, and that's how I can help, because my expertise is about how the specific pieces could sell better. So let me take a look at them. That would be the best thing, but that's where you are in terms of it. Folk art is valuable, all of it. Done. Yes, it's a cultural interest. People like folk art. In fact, recently, folk art has been doing very well, not only in the United States, but Canada and other parts of the world. People like these types of pieces, whether they're sculpture, right, hand-carved pieces, whether it's pieces that are mixed media, whether they're primitive types of paintings. Yes, if you have a chance at folk art and it looks like it's a good piece, yes, there's a very, very big interest in folk art. People like that style. They really do. They like that style, and they'll pay for that style. Do you put pork in your ragu or pasta sauce like 3 meat? Well, I said personal questions. That's right. My mother would do, and I do this as well, meat and pork. So there has to be meat and there has to be pork. And yes, we used to make brajol. If any of you know brajol, and you sit there and you roll it and you put everything in it and you roll it up and you tie the little string around the brajol. We used to do that. But I do in my pasta sauce meat and of course pork. So it has to be beef and pork. We need both tastes. So it was usually sausage and then some other type of meat. I'm trying to think of some other. My mother did not put a spoonful of sugar in it. A lot of Italians do that. My mother did not. And she used to make the big pot on the stove. And she'd actually, in the old days, before you knew any better, she actually would leave that pot to cool overnight on the stove. Once it was cooked all day, it would leave on the stove overnight. And then she'd put it away, quote unquote. She'd actually put it into containers and put it in a freezer, put it away the next morning. So I do remember that as a kid. She was a fantastic cook. My hips are to attest to it. She was a fantastic cook. She's a fantastic cook. I miss her every day. All right. I have 2 gold and silver metallic Norman Rockwell large framed pieces. Okay. So they're gold metallic frames, you're saying. Would love your thoughts. Planning a call soon. My thoughts on what, Manny? My thoughts on should they have gold and silver metallic frames? The frames are probably Nielsen frames, inexpensive frames from the 70s. That's fine. If you have framed pieces, I'm guessing because I can't see it. I'm guessing that if you have those, that you have prints, right? You have Norman Rockwell prints. Maybe they have a signature in the plate that says Norman Rockwell. They could have some value depending on their condition, as long as they're not water damaged. People like Norman Rockwell. Here's why they like Norman Rockwell. Norman Rockwell does exactly what the Michelangelos of the world does. You go, what are you talking about, Dr. Lori? He's using geometry. If you look at Norman Rockwell paintings, you're going to see the circles, you're going to see the squares, you're going to see the triangles, you're going to see where if you draw lines of the figures, everything is basic geometry. And that's what the Italian Renaissance painters did. That's what, of course, Michelangelo did in the Sistine Chapel ceiling. So we like that because it's orderly. Norman Rockwell really knew a lot about what is the tenets or the basics of the history of art. So Yeah. My thoughts on it, if you got them and you like them, hang on to them. If you want to show them to me in a call, if you want to send them to the website, any of that. But I wouldn't just get rid of a Norman Rockwell, even a print. I wouldn't. And the frames have some value too. If they're Nielsen frames, it'll say it right on that little, it'll be a silver or a gold metal frame. It'll have a little tiny metal, sort of the L shape for the corners. You have to unscrew those, take those out, and then you can basically dismantle the whole frame. But they're probably Nielsen frames or something based on Nielsen's design. Terrific, yeah. And thank you again for the super chats and super stickers. That's great. Yeah, some of you guys are calling the sauce gravy. We always called it sauce, but a lot of people do call it gravy. Yeah. Ragu or Prego. Okay, so some of you are using jar sauce, which you can doctor up and make taste good. I mean, my mother would have, a coronary right in the kitchen if we ever, I tried that, but no. I have a framed Albrecht Dürer woodcut, 1860. Okay, first problem. Albrecht Dürer is dead by 1860. So this is a restrike, a reprint. That's not a bad thing, but just so you understand, Albrecht Dürer is the German Leonardo. He's the guy, right? And he is active, of course, in the 1500s. Wondering how much it's worth and where to sell it. Thank you for all you do. Yeah, I'm happy to help. A couple of things. First of all, which one is it? Is it, the four horsemen of the apocalypse? Is it one of his little bunny rabbits? Which actual image is it? That will matter as well. Does it have the AD, the Albrecht Dürer, image at the top? Does it have that sort of his monogram, if you will? Sometimes it's at the bottom, sometimes it's at the top, depends. So I want you to see that. Where to sell it and how much is it worth depends on, is it cut, right? So is the actual print cut? Do you still see the margin? Do you see the impression line, kind of the indentation line all the way around the piece? Is it in a frame? Is it not in a frame? What does the paper look like? That kind of thing. So I'll take a look, but that's a good question too. If you have one, it's going to have some value, so don't just let it go for nothing. You need an appraisal. All right, good. I have a large piece of Lalique, the Virgin. Could you give me an idea of its worth? How large is large? That's my first question, right? Dr. Lori's large. How large is she? I got to know. Is it, 12? Is it 15? Is it 35? How big is it? It's a beautiful piece. I'm sure it's a beautiful piece. Where would be the best place to sell it? Again, more specifics are what we need. Would a picture of the piece help you? Yeah, picture of it would be great. It's easy to do too. drloriv.com. And then you can go, right to, of course, find values. And I walk you through it. It's very simple. You're going to have to fill out a form and you're going to have to measure it. And don't put in it's large and where it says dimensions. You got to put in the dimensions in inches. If you put in centimeters, that's okay. I can convert. But in inches, I'd like the name, the size. Yes, I can help you. If it's Lalique and it's signed Lalique, you're talking about major manufacturers, probably going to have some value, pretty significant probably. So I'm seeing a lot of you are putting sugar in the sauce. Okay, that's good. That's good. Can you tell me if the blue Delft's house made 4KLM is by Bowles is valuable? The number on the little house is 10. I have several of the houses in different numbers, and are they still sealed? Yeah, they could have some value depending on their size and depending on their condition. Blue-white Delft pieces doesn't look, it looks not unlike, I hate to put up a blue onion here. I'm going to pick something up on the table. Hang on a minute. Just a minute, Mona. So like a piece like this, this is blue onion. So the blue-white ceramic, right? The blue-white ceramic pieces you're typically going to see. I would say that you can, in fact, see some value in the houses. People do collect them still. Depends on how big they are and what kind of condition they're in and what kind of decoration they might have on them. Yes, they usually have numbers on them as well. And if they're still sealed, you mean that they're still sort of, they haven't been removed, they haven't been sort of displayed, they haven't been out with cigarette smoke or anything, they're in perfect condition, which is what I'm gleaning from that last line that you put down. So could be as low as $35, as high as $135 for one. Yeah, good question, good question. See your mom's blue birdhouse. Yeah, I try to keep something on the table. I don't do it every single time, but I try every time to have something, my mother, especially today, on the studio table. The studio elves are very good at putting stuff on the table. So I have so many things that are just, sentimental kinds of stuff for mom. But a lot of stuff that she was, she became quite a painter in her very, very old age, in her very, very senior years. Thank you for recognizing the blue birdhouse. Yeah. But she was someone who was always doing stuff for us and always doing stuff for everybody else. And then very, very late in her life, did she say, well, I'm going to try to paint. So she did. She wasn't bad at it either. So she always liked art. She always liked art, but came from humble beginnings. So didn't always have that. But thank you for noting that. I have a Price Kensington teapot made in England, engraved made in England. June P and K. It's the train locomotive picture. Okay. You have a question there, Pauline? What's the question? You have it. You want to resell it. You want to know about it, how to take care of it, whatever. So specific question for me. I think it's great that you have it. If it's part of your collection, if anytime you add to a collection, you're growing the collection, you'll increase the value of every piece in the collection some. So I like the questions. I like the questions. Thank you very much for supporting the channel in any way you can. Showing your appreciation. I'm appreciative. Thank you. People say, you don't have to stop to thank people. Yes, you do. It's nice of you. I think I have to stop and thank people. So I'm thanking all of you for doing that. And it helps everybody here. And people work very hard to try to get this information up. I try to do as many as I can. I want all this information to get to you. I want you to succeed. Are the big plastic beaded necklace of the 50s still collectible, like the crackle plastic beads, about a one inch and smaller? Okay, yeah, they're collectible. So when somebody says to me, are they collectible? I also equate that to, will someone pay money for it? Okay, are there collectors out there who want it? There are people who love 50s fun jewelry, sometimes called junquet jewelry, Junque. That term came about in the 1950s. And I would say that, yes, it's still collectible. Some people do like it, especially these pieces that are multicolored. People don't mind that they're plastics. People will say, oh, but, you want crystal, or, oh, you want Aurora Borealis crystals, or, oh, you want, colored glass. Sure. But people are understanding plastics. And the people who really made that happen were the Bakelite collectors. The Bakelite collectors made all the plastics rise with the tide. So yeah, they're collectible. If you have them, the longer the better, and the bigger the better. The bigger the beads, the better. So that's cool. That's cool. What trends do you see in colored glass? Green, I see. If you're looking for colors, I see pink, I see green going, and I'm picking up more American clear cut glass. Yeah, you're going to do well with American brilliant cut glass. A lot of people are just getting rid of it. And then a lot of people, younger people particularly, you're seeing this kind of stuff. Poshmark bought Depop, and in buying Depop, you're seeing a lot of the younger sort of elements, younger folks who are saying, hey, I really like that piece. That might be a nice centerpiece as, they start to decorate apartments and homes and this kind of thing. So I'm seeing a little bit more of that. You're going to continue to see that into about, I think from now until about 2025, you're going to see it. But in colored glass, a lot of pink is going very well. Green, I have an old college roommate who always collected depression glass and green glass. And her collection is going up in value. We're seeing that, just using her as an example. But yeah, pink and green. Cobalt glass always does well. People love blue. I mean, I would say that cobalt glass always does well too. And then there are the certain glasses that will always do very well. So in colored glass, you're not going to go wrong with a true piece of Murano, right? And I mean, there's not more color in glass than Murano. You're also going to do well with Costa Boda. You'll probably do well with other Scandinavian designed glass pieces. But if you're just looking on color, pink, green, blue. Good question. Smart. So thank you again for supporting us. I appreciate it very much. And it shows me that, you're able to say, hey, the information Dr. Lori's giving is actually helping me. So she's helping me. I'm making more money, and I'm able to, of course, give back. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. I also want you to remember that, I'm happy to answer these questions and keep going. So can you do a class on how to clean different jewelry types? Yeah, a lot of you, and I appreciate this question because it makes me think of something else. A lot of you are saying, hey, Dr. Lori, I've asked for topics. And I said, what topics do you want me to teach? Because some of you have said, Dr. Lori, I'd really like a class on fill in the blank, all types of glass, costume jewelry, how to identify good paintings, what do I look for in prints and this kind of thing. So, if you want to put those in, I'll be happy to consider those topics for future classes. And classes, there are spaces available in the class. The classes are, of course, a lot of fun, and I think they are very reasonable. So you can, of course, enjoy a couple of hours with me, picking my brain and learning from everybody else. So you can do that. You can go to drloriv.com and look at the events. It says appearances. That's the events. And then you'll see the classes. So there are, of course, there are some spaces available. You can go there and do that. The specials and shop page, you can go to to get the classes and to sign up. You can do that easily right online. You can sign up. So that's easy. So. Lots of great questions, lots of great ideas. What else have we got? Let's see. I'm enjoying, being able to talk to you and in speedy form, be able to get you, of course, to get you to be able to give me some of your questions. So I appreciate that. A lot of different questions. A lot of you are so sweet to tell me, hey, I've done so well. I'm so happy that I've been able to learn, a lot of stuff that I didn't know before. I was a reseller before, or I was a collector before, and I've learned more, and it's done me well. So I'm glad. I have an artwork by Zulia Kenyon. It's a picture of a black cat, and I can't find anything about her except her postcards of cats. Okay. Well, it would tell me that if she has postcards of cats, she probably first painted the paintings, and then she sold those rights to the images of her cats to folks who manufacture postcards. So that's pretty typical. Can't find anything about her. What do you want? You want to know about her time period or time frame where she trained, this kind of stuff. Also, she might have been very well known for cats, the way, some women artists are known for, Mary Cassatt, known for painting children, this kind of thing. So if you send me a picture of this black cat, now, if it's a picture, you say it's an artwork and then you say it's a picture. Is it a painting? Is it a print? What kind of picture do you have? So if it's a painting, of course, it's going to be more valuable than the postcard, probably. A lot of people will collect particular postcards, and the postcards themselves can have some value too. So a photo would be great, Anne, if you could. That would be great. You're newish here, Kathy. It's nice to see you, Kathy. How about cast iron irons? I just inherited a collection of them. Well, cast iron irons, sometimes they'll have a trivet that they sit on. Sometimes they have actually a block of asbestos. So I want you to be careful if you have something that looks like a block that can be white. That's asbestos, so you don't want to be playing around with that. But if you just have a cast iron, right, ironing clothes, that kind of iron, they have a particular value, and typically they're in a value range. I've seen them as low as $10. I've seen them as high as about $100. However, it depends on size, who manufactured it, how good condition it's in, a couple of those factors. But if you have a collection of them, if they're really, really tiny, sometimes the tinier ones are actually worth more than the ones that are standard size and can be used. And there are different types. But pieces that are, of course, functional pieces, teapots and irons and, sort of kitchenware or what we call women's work pieces of the 19th century are oftentimes pretty desirable. So it's a nice collection to inherit. That's great. I'm glad you're new. I hope you stick with it. Please use the binge link, all of you, because a lot of the videos that I also do are not readily here. So I want you to get them. The binge link also is more organized than you searching for them. The binge link can be found at the specials and shop page at drloriv.com. It's a big red thing. It says binge link, and next to it, there's a link. Copy and cut and paste that link, put it into your browser, save that link somewhere on your desktop, to a note page on your phone, wherever, and then go back to it so you won't miss a video, and you're going to get extra videos there, okay? Extra videos that you didn't see. So I want to make sure that you all get to all my videos. A lot of you are saying, oh, I've seen all your videos. No, you haven't. I know you haven't. So I want you to be able to see them. I do a lot of videos, and I'm happy to do it, but there's a lot of them out there, a lot of content out there. So, okay, that's great. Bean pots as well. So irons, bean pots, kitchen stuff. When were barrel clasps first used in jewelry? What ways can you tell an old one from a new one? Okay, so a barrel clasp is relatively easy to tell. first of all, there are many different types of clasps, and I talk about these in my custom jewelry videos. So a couple of different things. First of all, a barrel clasp looks like that, a barrel. Sometimes you're going to see a box clasp that also goes in and then it clicks. You're also going to see a C clasp, depends on which type of jewelry. So you might see that more on a pin than you would a barrel clasp, for example. So early 20th century, you're going to see these different types of pieces and different types of clasps. You could also, of course, a lot of people like to research patent numbers, so you can also research those. But for the most part, you're going to see them to the early to mid 20th century for barrel clasps. And the clasps could increase the value of the jewelry. People forget this part. It's really important. If you have a lobster clasp, for example, it's a little bit more expensive to make a lobster clasp than it is to make, for example, a C clasp, which is a little wire that the pin fits under. So you want to think about that. So you want to look at those pieces and say, let's look at how this piece is made. If it's made better than another piece like it, it's worth more. So you want to look at materials. I'm always telling you, I want you to understand the quality of materials and to identify quality. When you do that, I want you to be able to see that. So, well, I hope you got your questions in. There's more to come. I will, of course, continue to answer your questions. I'm Dr. Lori, the PhD Antiques Appraiser. I love all of you. I'll see you next time.